Okay, well, my name is Sabine van der Zwan. I'm Dutch born, but I was raised in Singapore and New Zealand. So until about 8 years old, I lived in the Netherlands. My stepfather used to bring home the English bulldogs, and he used to say, like, it's an ex-show dog, not good enough for show. So as a kid, I always thought, oh, what's a show dog? You know, so that was like a little trigger that went along. I was horse crazy. And then we moved to Singapore, and there were no horses there, but there were lots of dog breeders. And my mum used to help the rescue lady, used to feed all the wild dogs, all the stray dogs, in the house. And our neighbour used to breed the Pekingese, and the other one had a rough collie. So I used to hang around and play with the puppies and just listen, ask for questions. And then we went to New Zealand, where I used to watch the match ring training classes, like the match shows with the beagles and the hounds. But in New Zealand, a dog always had a purpose. So you didn't just have a pet dog. You know, you had a guard dog or you had a working dog, and they were always used for something. And our neighbours had pig dogs. So I used to find them fascinating. They used to like cross the bull terriers with the labs or the Rottweilers, and you know, I just hang around and with the hunting dogs. So, but the show dog always sort of lingered. And then I went back to the Netherlands, and I wanted a show dog. I wanted to become a dog breeder because that's just what I wanted to do. I didn't know why or what for dog. I would have any dog, any breed. It didn't matter as long as it was a dog. So until finding your breed, you just fascinated with them all. So I saw how do you say, the movie Mad Max, and they had like an Australian cattle dog in there. I thought, oh, that's cool. You know, it was very important for me to have a dog that was highly protective. So that was more my vision towards where I was gearing towards. And then I was at the dog show, and I also saw the Akita. I thought, oh, that's nice. So I put myself on the waiting list, and those were the first two dogs I had. And I was going to breed them in my mind. But then with the health testing, and they just weren't good enough. But the cattle dog was about, I think, 10 months old or something, and he just destroyed everything. So then I thought, oh, I'll better go and start dog training. So we then done the police dog training, because that's the only thing we had in our neighbourhood. So here I am, you know, with a little blue heeler going to the police dog training. And that was the start from training and the fascination. I saw the other breeds, and then moved to the UK and wandered around there and just had my dogs and just as pets and rescues until I went to the US, because I saw an advert in dog paper. They were looking for a show dog handler. I thought, okay, I'll try that. So I phoned them up, and I went to New York, and there they had the Shar-Pei and lots of other different breeds. So I fell in love with the Shar-Pei. I thought they were really cute and wrinkly, and I thought, well, that's the dog I'm going to breed. And so when I came home back to the UK, saved up my money, went to Crufts, had my photographs, and I showed them what I wanted and how I got the Shar-Pei. I imported different bloodlines into the UK, had a few litters, but I soon found out it's like playing Russian roulette with all the health problems. And, you know, 1 minute you'd have good eyes, and you have two with the good eyes, and then they had the amyloid, the Shar-Pei fever. It was just too heartbreaking. So the last imports I had, I think I had every health problem that you can imagine in the breed. So I just thought, no, that's not for me. I just kept my older dogs, and we just had them until she died. Then 3 years after, I was surfing the net, and I saw this photo of a dog being crushed by a truck. It had half a face. I thought, oh my God, what's that? So I clicked on the photo, and I ended up on a site where they were just doing a rescue mission, and they were like emptying, unloading trucks. And I saw this dog in a cage, upside down, all folded up, and it looked like the dog from The Littlest Hobo. So I contacted the photographer and I asked her, like, is it possible, where are these dogs going? Is it possible to adopt them, And then she gave me the address, who to contact. So I contacted Soy Dog. And I actually found this particular dog. And 8 months later, she came to the UK and didn't even know it was a Taibunga dog at the time. We thought she was a husky cross German shepherd. But she was just fascinating. It's like her memory, there was a sort of a wildness about her, but she was still a dog, but she wasn't a dog. She was more like a fox. And she would observe you, and she just knew exactly what you meant without telling her what you meant. It's very difficult to explain. Mm-hmm. And I thought she would never be protective or anything like that. I thought, well, she's just a dog. And I still wanted a second dog to show, because I thought, well, it is something that I liked to breed. So I was like searching the net again, looking at the Thai Ridgeback dogs, because they reminded me of the Shar-Pei, like the original Shar-Pei, the horse coats. And over the years, I had a network of people that I knew because we all like dogs. Mm-hmm. And they had just imported the first Taibunga dog puppies into the Ukraine. I thought, oh, they're cute. What breed is this? So I started looking at the photos and I thought, hold on a minute. That looks like our dog. That looks like our dog. And that's how I found out we actually had a Taibunga dog. Wow. So I thought, well, we've got one. I like the breed and there's more of them. And I found out it was a rare breed and that just got my fire going, So I started researching where can I get a good breeder from, and you just go from here to there, and all of a sudden, you just find your way. But it wasn't that easy. But that's how I got started with a Taibunga dog, and it was more sort of in honor of her. I thought I can't save all the dogs, but I can do my bit for the breed, and that was 9 years ago, and the passion's still burning. So. I love wolves, mm-hmm. But you can't really have a wolf as a pet. They'll mark the territory. And I know people say you can have them as a pet, but there's a lot of negativities about having a wolf dog as a pet. So they combine the wolf. They're natural breed. They're not man-made. They're a combination of all the dogs that I like. The negativity of them is the dog fighting, which the Akita has. Mm-hmm. But they're more obedient than the Akita, The devotion that they have for the owner is just incredible. But they're like children. If you really read the body language and the signs, you can just talk to them. Everything I knew about dogs or learned on dog training, you can forget about the Bangkaew. Mm-hmm. They're extremely tenacious. If they want something, they'll do it, and they will observe you doing it. They'll be, in the beginning, they'll be looking around the house, and, oh, can I get up there? And they'll climb and they'll find a way up there. They're like cats. If you ever had a fox, or seen like a wild fox or a pet fox, mm-hmm. They're very similar. They can climb and they will work things out, and they'll see you open a door and they'll learn to open it. Thankfully, not all of them are like that. Mm-hmm. But I have one who will open a door quicker than anyone else, But if you take them traveling, you don't have to teach them to sit or lay down. They just do it automatically. Where you are, they're calm and they're just at your feet. Well, at least my dogs are. I've never trained them that way. Mm-hmm. They're not hyperactive like a border collie, but they're just as smart as a border collie, but they're not in your face, oh, what are we going to do next? That mm-hmm. hyperactivity. But if you're ready, they'll be ready to learn. But they are not... they're a bit like a husky, I suppose, mm-hmm. with the naughtiness that they can run and not come back for a while, but they always do come back. So it's a little bit of a blend of those breeds and like the speed that they have, and they're very reactive. You'll be walking the dogs, and then all of a sudden you would think, oh, why's he got a spring in his step? He would have caught a mouse on the way, and there's like little tails sticking out of his mouth. You don't even notice it. They're so quick. Like in a blink of an eye, they've caught something. They like a lot of freedom. They have to run, and jump and explore and investigate, and they'll come back. Oh, look what I found, and they're off again. And I suppose that's the naturalness is what sets them apart from other breeds. And then still they're in tune with the owner. But then one Bangkaew is not like another Bangkaew. You have the different lines, and some of them have really strong feral temperament that are very difficult to train and can be quite aggressive. So, maybe I got lucky and just happened to choose the more developed type, like the show dogs and the old line is the way I differentiate them. Like the old line is just very close to the street dog temperaments, like the feral temperaments. So if you know what a feral pack of dogs are like, they can be quite frightening. And the show dogs are more developed because they have to be able to be touched by a stranger. But even so, you have to teach them to be touched. Because without the owner, you can do nothing with them. It really takes a couple of months for them to settle and accept you as their owner, and then they're the most loving animal you can imagine. Well, they haven't really got a purpose. They weren't bred as a purpose. They're like a natural dog that originated in the temple, in the Bangkaew temple. So they're just a mix of like domesticated dogs in the olden days. I tried to research what breeds they could have been. And, the closest I've come is like the Japanese Spitz that were around the era of the time. And from what I've spoken to the Thai people, because they say like some herding breeds are coming, but it's all hearsay. We don't really know 100%. All we know is like that a pregnant female, a long-haired female, she was pregnant, and because of the rain seasons, she could only have been pregnant by a wild dog because due to the floodings. Like you had the jackals there and you had like the does, but nothing is really 100% confirmed. It's like all guessing game, so they haven't really been bred for a purpose. They're just like originated around the area, and they mixed with the breeds like the feral dogs, around the temple, and the different domesticated breeds that they had, or the mixed breeds. And I think that's where they got a little bit the Spitz type. But, I don't really know, and nobody really gives a straight answer, because some breeders, they have tried to breed jackals with them, and like the Asian golden jackal with them again. But if it really worked, you don't know. But some lines can be really difficult, and they're very much like the wolf dogs that really nobody can touch. And others are like the Samoyed that are happy, bouncy dogs. And I think, well, that's not natural, because what's unique about the Bangkaew is they don't like everybody. They're not, they're not social like a golden retriever or a Samoyed. They can be friendly with people and visitors if they're used to it. But it's not their purpose. It's not their purpose to be a house dog or working dog. They try to send them to the army, testing out, what they could do. Could they be a custom dog or work the patrols? But they've been found to be too stubborn for that. But they're basically still testing it out. And most of them are just companion dogs protecting the property of the owner, because they have a fierce temperament, a fierce reputation. I mean, when I'm in Thailand with the dogs, it's a Bangkaew, people are like, and they'll walk around you in a big circle. They don't come close to you. They hardly want to touch the bench, when you're going through customs. It's fascinating to see, but it made me laugh because they're really sweet. But at the same time, you don't want to mess with them. So to say what purpose have they been bred for, they haven't really had a real purpose, but they're more or less a companion dog, protection dog, but no real purpose for what they've been bred for. Without selection, like if you're German Shepherd or, your border collie is a herder. This is not what it's about with a Bangkaew. But they make great family dogs.
Is there a registry that recognizes them at this point?
Yes, there are about 4 different registries.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you got the Kennel Club of Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
You got the Preservation and Development of the Bangkaew breed in Thailand, which is the Association of Vitsanuluk. You got Thai Bangka Dog Kennel Club Thailand Association, Vitsanuluk, Thai Bangka Club Thailand, Bangkok, and then you have the Chiang Mai Thai Bangkaew. So you've got a few different ones, and they all have like their own registrations, and some are accepted by the Thai Kennel Club. So to get the export pedigrees, you have to have like from the Thai Kennel Club. And sometimes it's not very easy to get like the full generation of pedigrees, export pedigrees. So when people are looking into buying a Bangkaew, they think like, oh, it's a cheap puppy, but usually they don't have the right registration, or they're bred from the puppy farmers, and they're not like from the real breeders. Because the real good breeders, they have like FCI association and Thai Bangka Club preservation, And one Bangkaew is not the other Bangkaew, and there's quite a maze that you have to go through.
Is there efforts to get them recognized by the FCI?
Yes, they first done the selection around in 2004 with Thailand, and then around 2006 they were recognized by the Asian Kennel Club Union, and around the final evaluation was FCI in 2010 with Mr. Paul Stanton, and last year they should have been fully recognized, but due to COVID, it hasn't been officially confirmed yet. So we're just waiting for official confirmation, really. But they should, at least this year, be fully recognized with the FCI. I think the first ones in AKC, there was a club in around 2004. And then it was stopped because people underestimate this breed. So probably a lot were found to be aggressive, and they have to come to you on their own terms. Like the more pressure you give them, the more wary they become of you. And the official standard, well, it's a white dog with broken markings. They prefer to have like a symmetrical head markings. Semi-long hair, not too long, Spitz breed, medium-sized. Females are 41 to 50 centimeters, and the males are 46 to 55 centimeters. It's a square breed. The tail shouldn't be curly. It should be up. It's sort of more like a banana. It shouldn't be touching the back. They've got small ears. They've got oval eyes. Slant, a little bit wolf expression. They should have a scissor bite. Straight front and good angulation and no dilute markings and all colours. And they've got 3 different colours in different shades: white grey, white brown from lemon to red, and white black. We do have a disqualification fault, which is like the solid colour with white markings. Although a white dog is not correct, it's more correct to have a white dog than a solid coloured dog with white markings. But you should have a white dog with markings. But they can be any shape of markings.
What do they typically weigh?
That varies because you have the lighter bone and the heavier, but usually from around 15 kilos to 22, 25 tops. I think some of that try to do some agility and what they try to do, send them into the army, but they're too stubborn for that, because they'll do something 5 times right, and then the 6th times they'll think like, "Oh, do it yourself," and they will be bored with it. So they're not really a dog that you do harsh training with or many activities. They're basically just companion dogs, and they're at home guarding the property or show dogs. The most negative thing about this breed is the fighting, because they have the same sex aggression. But it's more of their own breed, because they're so reactive, which is the same as the Akita like 20 years ago.
Right.
If they growl, they will just jump on them. They're very quick and reactive, and puppies will fight as well. I suppose some terrier litters you have the same. But when we had our first litter, basically the Europeans, we're all learning as we go along. Like the first one was an adult, so we didn't really know what to expect. She must have been well trained or well behaved at some point, because that's how it started. And then the ones I bought, because I was the first one that imported them to the UK, I bought them as puppies, but they were trained to be show dogs. Mm-hmm. But even when you get them, and maybe my approach was good at the time, I don't know, but when I brought my male home, the first thing he did was attack my sleeping female, the rescue, and she had done nothing. She was just like laying there. But I didn't realize that everything that's around the person, they feel the need to protect. So they will lunge at anything that comes near the owner. It can be animal, human. So that's the stuff that you have to be alert about and train them that it's okay. They don't have to lunge and jump all the time, And so the first 3 years are the most difficult with them. So that's the negativity thing. If I could change the fighting, then I would say they'd be perfect, because I like a dog that is protective, that I don't have to teach them to protect me. They just know if a person is wrong, has wrong intentions or good intentions, because they will be friendly. And if I have visitors here, I always say, like, ignore the dogs. Let them check you out. And it can maybe sometimes be a tense, but just you have to be relaxed. If you're tense and standing there, they will become more wary. But if you're just relaxed and let them sniff you around, you sit down, don't keep standing, just sit down, relax, let them sniff you, and then you can touch them. They'll even climb on your lap and come for cuddles. But as soon as I was to leave the room, like to make a cup of coffee, they will be on alert watching your visitors again. So, some are just a little bit sharper than the others, and you might have to put them away or behind a baby gate or whatever when visitors are there, just to keep them safe. But that's just their natural instinct. Maybe it's a genetic thing, I don't know, but it's not trained. They just do it automatically. They're very observant. It's just basically the socialization which comes into force that you have to be very good at and consequent. And, I used to put my hand on their hand. It's okay, good boy and good girl. And it's like, oh, it's okay. And, and now it's fine. They love children, but they're not born to love children. You have to teach them that children are okay. And when children come running up to you, like, oh, I want to touch your dog. Oh, it's so cute. Oh, puppy, you look so beautiful. It's like, no, calm down, slow, sit down, don't move, and let them come to you. And if you do it that way, if they come to you, then it's fine. If you let them run up, they'll back off. They'll either avoid being touched or they'll snap. I suppose those are just things that you have to be aware of. It's like I don't find it a negative, because I'm alert to it, because that's what I want. But I know people say, like, family dogs, they have, someone tried to take something from the table, and my dog lunged at him. I thought, yeah, because he's watching a visitor. Is your toothpick or is your pen? He can't just touch the pen without. So they're just very alert for things like that. So it can be negative, but you have to understand that's just part of the nature. They're not really being bad or anything like that. So if that's not what you want in a dog, if you want your dog to behave like a golden retriever, you should not have a Bangkaew. But it's also not a dog that it has to be only with highly experienced dog trainers, because that's not true either. It's just your own mentality, how you are with dogs and what you expect from them. And, if you want a dog that's always highly obedience trained, and sure, you can get them obedient up to a point, but you'll be really disappointed if you wanted a obedience dog. You just want a dog that likes to be free and run, and you want to go hiking. They're great for that. But at the same time, they might catch a rabbit on the way, and they'll be protective if someone comes running up. They'll want to keep them away from you. So you have to teach them that it's not always necessary to keep everyone away from you. But it takes training and just basic common sense, really. Because I can go on a train and they'll just all lay down at my feet, and people can step over them and there's nothing. But that's just how I've trained them. They have a really good sense of smell. So they're good at tracking. But not all of them will track, if that makes sense. They will track, but not all of them would have the, potential to be a tracking dog. So I think some would be good at search and rescue. They like to search for things, but they're not very toy-driven. So people have been training them for agility or having fun with agility. I can't say they're 100% agility dog, even though they're athletic and they like to climb on things. If you want to do agility competitions, I don't know. I suppose there's always some exception. Not really that much has been done with them up until this point, not officially anyway. I mean, some in Finland are doing agility training. There's some that wanted them to be a detection dog, but failed. But have they got the potential to do it? Yeah, sure. But it would be just an individual dog, It's not like, I'm going to get a Bangkaew, I'm going to do rescue dog training, or he's going to be my agility partner. It doesn't work that way. You really should just look at your dog and see what they like to do and work with it. I mean, Mamba, the one I have, and now he loves tracking, and he will hold on to a track, and then if he's found something, he'll just lay down himself, and he's found something. So that's just his temperament, the way he is. But they're not all like that. He's my only one that likes to track. The other ones will hunt, and they will kill anything they find. But it's not controlled. Oh yeah, they love water. Playing water, laying in water, paddling in water. I mean, not all like to swim, funny enough.
Okay.
But they do like running through the water and playing water. None of mine have ever swum. But there are dogs that do like swimming, just not mine. But they love playing in the water. It's their passion. And digging.
Yeah.
If they smell a mole or a rat, they've dug a hole to China or something. So I find them the easiest dog I've ever had. I've had huskies that destroyed the wolves, and yes, these can destroy things if they want to follow you. But if you have plenty of chews, then it's fine. They have a high need to chew and to keep busy, like with chewing. Otherwise, but I can't say they've really destroyed many things except for the dog leads, and then they dig if they smell something. They will know exactly where there's something because they'll pass 1, 2, 3, and then all of a sudden they'll start digging like a terrier to try and get to the mole. So they might have never caught a mole, by the way. But for me, I just like the way they're natural. If they're loose, and if I see someone with a pack of dogs, or I'll call them to me, and they have to come by, and I'll wait till they pass because they might lunge. I don't know what their dog is like. If they have a dominant dog, their mind will react immediately. If they have a non-dominant breed or whatever, then they're fine. Mm-hmm. But that's what they're used to. You have some that are great with children and others that aren't because they're not used to it. But they like to be explained what they can and can't do. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they're really that much different to many breeds at Group 5, except for the part that they don't like to suddenly be touched by strangers. And the problem is they're so cute and beautiful, so people want to touch them. Yeah. But they don't really like all this attention, if it's on their terms, sure. But I suppose that's the difficult thing about them. But I find them a lot easier than most of those breeds. They're more obedient. They're very human orientated, family orientated. They're worse kennel dogs than house dogs because they want to be with you. So now I have kennels as well because my numbers have increased over the years. So I have different generations, grandma, grandpa, brother, sister, uncle, nephews, and not all get on. So I have 2 family groups. Mm-hmm. But the house dogs have always been house dogs, and I alternate them. And they're just much better in the house because in the house they're next to you. They'll just sleep on the sofa or on the chair, or they'll sit on the windowsill, and they'll watch what you're doing. And other than that, they'll just sleep until you're ready, and then they'll follow you. Are you going to do the washing? They'll come and watch you do the washing, and they're not hyperactive. Are you ready to walk out and go for a walk? Yeah, they're ready to go for a walk. But if you have a kennel dog, or if you have more kennel, they tend to be more bouncy and become more aggressive and noisier and
hyper.
Yeah. So I want to call them hyper because it's still in the kennels. But if I go for a walk, they all want to go for a walk, and they'll start howling. They'll be calling out. It's like a pack of wolves sometimes. And the neighbours must love me. And it's not so much that they have each other that they're lonely. No, they just want you. So if you have a house dog and you just let them, be part of it, then they're easy dogs. If you have them, keep them in the garden or in a kennel, you don't give them a happy life, and they're more like wild dogs if they're in kennels. Mm-hmm. I suppose that's the way, and they'll be bouncing and they'll be jumping and they can jump extremely high. It's just ridiculous because they're not big compared to some breeds, and they're so athletic. Like the one we got from Thailand, she's only about 46 centimeters tops, maybe a little bit smaller, and she'll just jump 2 meters from standstill, and she'll pull herself up, and whoop, she's out. Wow. The first couple of months when she came out from Thailand, she was a nightmare. And we had to put a roof over the kennel because obviously she was a kennel dog, and she would fight with my other female. So she can't be a house dog, and she's allowed in the house now. But I thought, well, she's from Thailand. She's not used to it. She got a bigger kennel and paddocks here than she did there, and unfortunately that's just the way it is. But it was a learning curve for me too. That they're not all the same. You can't just all put them together and think they're going to be a pack dog with as much training and socializing you want, because some will get on and the others can't, and they really know which is their family group. So if you have more than one Bangkaew, you're better off having a male and a female
Mm-hmm.
than 2 females or 2 males. And if you have mother and daughter, that's fine. But, two litters, different litters, they can fight with each other.
Mm-hmm.
They'll kill each other given a chance.
Right.
It's a real frightening thing when you first experience it. That's difficult to answer, I think, because it really depends on the person. Mm-hmm. When I first had Melita, I thought dog trainers, that was it. You have to be highly experienced and they're going to show them what to do, but it's the way you live with them, the way you talk with them is most important. You can be a complete novice, never had a dog before, but it also depends on which lines you choose and if you can trust the breeder to know its litter, because in a litter you have like different temperaments and you have like the very sharp ones, or you have the very softer temperament. So the softer temperament are great house dogs. You can be a novice, but you have a sharp one, then even a real dog handler. But you have to think about why is it growling? Why is it doing this? So if you can think like the dog and understand where it's coming from, then it's fine. If you're going to be radical and think, oh, my dog's growled or it's bitten someone, or, we're going to put it to sleep. For example, I had a dog come back and they were German Shepherd people, a lovely couple, but they had a gardener come in and the dog had bitten the gardener. But, and then the gardener brought his dog in the house and he bit the dog. They were going to put him to sleep because they were scared what would happen. I thought, yeah, but, he's in your garden. He's protecting your area. You can't put him to sleep for that. He's doing his duty. So, you have to think about things like that, which is what they would do. So I prefer, when I place puppies, I prefer Akita people because they're used to the fighting bit, the dominant bit. But I've also placed pups with complete novice people, and they're great house dogs, So it really depends on the actual puppy. The real difficult ones I keep myself. Mm-hmm. It's just the initial first couple of weeks that you have to be careful with them and take things slow. And a lot of times people will say, oh, my puppy's growling at me. Why is it growling? I said, well, he doesn't know you yet. It's a bit of a shock because they look so cute and fluffy and, it's a puppy. But that's just, I'm not a dog trainer, so I don't have that explanation, but that's just the way they are. As long as you don't trust them, as long as they don't trust you or know you yet, you can't do nothing with them. Mm-hmm. They will do anything they can to escape and to get back to the previous owner. So if you choose this dog or this breed, you really have to think about, how you're going to keep them and how your living situation is, and is it going to be a permanent lifetime? Because it's part of your family. They're like your child. They look at you are their everything. And if you were to rehome them, it's so hard on them. And I want to just realize how hard it is for them. They will escape and they will be on the run and no one can catch them because they just won't allow it. They're just so smart, and which is when their wild feral instincts kick in. You just have to take things slow. So it doesn't really matter if you're novice or experienced. It just depends on what kind of breed you're used to, and if you're going to do a puppy course, and what your dedication is, and not to underestimate them because they are fast and they can climb, and they're not going to love everybody that you introduce them with. And if they're willing to work that way, then it shouldn't really be a requirement of what kind of person is, as long as they're like calm and relaxed and like hiking and are prepared to have the dog as part of the family and not have them in the kitchen in the basket and think, oh, the basket is their bed and it's a dog and it's got to behave, it's got to do this, then you're going to be really disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
So for those people and for the dog, I would not advise getting one. Enjoy watching them enjoy life.
Mm-hmm.
Running, playing in the water, digging, and they'll do anything what you want to do, give it a go, but don't expect them to do it more than 5 times. For agility, say, just have fun with your dog, but don't have high expectations of your dog. You might have superpowers, be a best agility partner or obedience dog, but I doubt it.